Hi everyone, I recently got some new discus, so I needed some more for my group, and not many places are actually stocking wilds at the moment because of the whole crisis, and Brazil has, as far as I know, closed for import. So I wanted to get more wilds rather than getting domestics because I feel like the wild will be able to communicate with each other better. So I got 3 Heckels, which are Symphysidon Heckel. The ones I own at the moment as well are the Symphysidon tarzu, or sometimes are referenced as being synonymized with Symphysidon aquifascens, which is your typical, I think it is blue discus, but I don't really use the common names. So you can see the Heckels, they are a bit smaller, but they are a lot more confident than the large ones, and I feel like smaller fish do adapt to captivity better. I do double bag because discus are quite sharp, but I feel like the smaller ones do adapt. They feed better and they're a lot more confident, so they bring out the confidence in the larger ones. And they haven't, like when I got, if you watch the other video, you'll see that the other wilds I got, they had, when I was acclimatizing, they would go on their side, which is quite normal, I think, with discus. I've seen even these do it before when they actually were imported from Brazil. And I believe these might be the Rio Negro Heckels, but I'm not entirely sure. But these guys didn't go on their side at all throughout acclimatization, and I thought that was kind of strange, but they have really encouraged feeding a lot more rapidly than just the adults. And I've never not seen any bullying or anything like that, which I am keeping out for. And they are different species, so communication is probably not the best, but I find the domestics, which are hybrids anyway, do not communicate in the same way or to the same extent with body language. So yeah, you can see the 3 of them, and I'm just drip acclimatizing them. So I do that really till all the water has been replaced in the bucket with water from the tank. And this is just because with discus they seem to be a bit of a drama queen when it comes to acclimatization, so it's more of worry more than anything, and they have not travelled far. So these probably were in the bag at most 30 minutes. It did not take me long to catch them at all. So there wouldn't be a build-up of ammonia or anything like that. So I'm not really fussed on how long it takes to acclimatise because they're not in toxic ammonia. There's only 1 per bag, and it's quite big bags for the size of fish. You can see that they're a nice size, and they have grown a lot since being imported, and they are absolutely gorgeous. So elastic bands as well. I do prefer to use them so I can reuse the bags and hopefully the bands even, because I find when people tie it, it's quite difficult to open, and then you usually end up losing the bag, which I think for being environmentally friendly is quite important. And you can see, there they are, just chilling. So they're not actually on their side or anything, which was I was expecting it. So I did then cover the bucket with a blanket for a bit while I was acclimatizing them, and then I just remove a bit of the water from the bucket, just so 1, it doesn't overflow, and 2, it makes it a bit quicker for acclimatization because you have less of the water from the bags in the bucket. And then after a while, so this is a bit later on, I did put them in the tank, so you could just see the condition of the fish, and they are really nice. No damage or scratches, which I think is because they don't spook as easily as the adults do, which do help. I find it calms them down, and they'd be a lot easier to acclimatise into captivity than the adults. And you can see the Heckels with the stripes going from head to tail or head to a caudal fin. Hi everyone. So they've been in there since Saturday, so it's about sort of 3 days, and it's Monday now. And they're feeding really well. They're acclimatized, and I must say that it's not a permanent thing. So the thing is when I asked a lot of people, they couldn't get wilds in till December. So I was like, okay, the ones I really want, I can't really get right now. So I was always planning on doing another wild discus tank, since I really fell in love with these, and I'm trying not to rush into it. So I ideally wouldn't have them together unless I had a big enough shoal, which so this is more of a thing till around December, January, when I can get more. So they are babies, and I'm keeping an eye on just in case is any bullying. But I find with the wilds they're a lot more placid than the domestics. Their colours change to their mood, and they're communicating with each other, going darker and lighter depending on how stressed they are. And I feel like this allows them to communicate a little bit better than the domestics might do, which is why I didn't want to add domestics, other than a lot of people have issues with contamination. People might be wondering why I didn't quarantine, and they came from the same place and they were in the same systems for at least 2 months. So they have been sort of quarantined-ish, and they were quarantined beforehand, but so I knew where they were coming from, and I sort of knew the store, so it's kind of different to quarantining otherwise. And not everyone has space for quarantine, and that I think that's very important, rather than people bullying others for not having another tank, which they might not be allowed to have, or they might not have space to have. But yeah, they were quarantined, but they weren't ever kept together until I got them. So I did only get 3, and this is just for space. And then what I decided, well, the main plan was to get other varieties, so other Heckels, maybe Heckel hybrids, that I've seen online that I'm really tempted by and I would like, but it's something that I will have to wait for. And I didn't want to leave mine in a small group till December, and I thought getting Heckels would be a great alternative to that, rather than domestics, which there's still imports from Europe. So yeah, that's probably a bit of a ramble on why I chose them. And so they are feeding at the moment all on Repashy Soylent Repashy Soylent Green, maybe mostly Repashy Bottom Scratcher. They are also feeding really well on brine shrimp, Daphnia, and I do have some Cyclops, but I'm not sure how well they're feeding on that because it is really small. I'm trying to replicate their natural diet, and looking at studies, although many aquaculture studies actually say that they do best, they get bigger, grow faster, and colours tend to improve a little bit more on a high protein diet. I mean for a natural diet, which seems to be very high in periplankton or Ulfwurch. So I'm trying to replicate that, and I think Repashy Bottom Scratcher is the best diet for that. Mainly because it does have the high protein, the inverts that they wouldn't actually eat in the wild, but it also has something more for the algae, the bacteria, all of that sort of thing. So I think that's really important, and that's why I kind of chose that diet over beef heart, which I've read a lot of people do have issues with. It's very common to feed it, and I've heard of issues with liver, causing issues with liver, and I've seen a lot of what you say, oversized discus, as in like fat discus. And I know that the skinny ones, you tend to see it sort of at the head and at the sort of, in a bird you call it breastplate, but by the pectoral fins. I'm not very clear on cichlid anatomy, and it's quite different from catfish. So these guys are kept about 28 degrees centigrade. I keep them with my Rio Zingu fishes. So, well, all my fishes mostly are Rio Zingu or similar temperatures, but I keep them with Baryancistrus chrysolomus and my Bunocephalus SPP, which means plural species, so I have multiples, and also Platystachys cotiflorus, all which will do well in higher temperatures. They are with plants, they don't eat the plants, and it's Anubis, which I've had at those temperatures for over about 2 years, and these plants are at least sort of 5 years old. Some of them are quite old, and you can see where aroids, their sort of earlier leaves die off, and then because they only hold a certain amount of leaves usually, and you get this sort of runner long string of where there was leaves, and then there is a few more, and it depends on the variant as well, because I have a mixed, and I know of Anubis nana, but some of mine are just, you could tell their age in some plants. Yeah, so they're doing really well with feeding, shoaling, getting more confident. They don't like me opening the lid, so I tend to leave the lid ajar. Because the thing is with jumping fish is fish tend to only jump, one, if they're spooked, two, if they're hungry or after food. So fish that naturally jump, so you get sort of your arowana, archfish, that sort of thing. You also get fish that will jump naturally to go to new places. So you got your killifish, and Siamese fighters to an extent. Or fish will jump because of low or poor water quality. And discus aren't really jumpers anyway, so I'm not particularly worried about that. And they're in a very sort of peaceful location. The only time they're going to deal with me is if I'm sat there working, or if I'm passing by. So I'm there whenever they're going to be disturbed, but I doubt they do jump. So yeah, so that's everything about them. My other discus are doing really well, and hopefully eventually I could get a few more. Other people have had success with having Heckels with the Rio Nani Symphysidon tarzu, but we'll have to see. I'll keep people updated. If I need to separate them, I can separate them easily, so it's not an issue. I'd rather not separate them personally, because I think they really benefit from that social contact, and they are quite social fish, and they're not thick at all. Anyway, thank you for watching. But yeah, every other video is going to be mostly on plecos and stuff like that. So, and I'm going to try and do more scientific content, just because there isn't always that much available on YouTube of that, and some people do really like it. So taxonomy, maybe a bit of genetics, but I'm really rusty on genetics. But anyway, thank you for watching.